The cold morning air cut through the broken windows of Building 47 in Settlement 7. Hana Kim pulled the thin blanket tighter around her son Minho as he coughed again. The sound was getting worse each day. His small body shook with each cough, and his lips had turned a pale blue color that scared her more than anything else in this ruined world. Settlement 7 used to be Seattle. That was before the aliens came 3 years ago. Now it was just another human work camp with tall metal walls and guard towers. The alien ships floated above the settlement like dark clouds that never moved. Their red scanning lights swept across the buildings every few minutes, counting the humans inside like livestock. Hana looked at her watch. It was almost time for the morning food distribution. She helped Minho sit up against the wall. His breathing sounded like broken glass rattling in his chest. The boy was only 6 years old, but he looked much smaller now. The regular food rations were not enough to keep him healthy. He needed special nutrients that his body could not make on its own. Before the invasion, doctors had given him vitamin shots and special medicine. Now there was nothing. "Mama, it hurts," Minho whispered, touching his chest. Hana felt tears start to form in her eyes, but she blinked them away. Crying would not help her son. She had been an engineer before the aliens came. She had built machines and solved problems with numbers and logic. But there was no logical solution to watching your child slowly die from hunger. The loudspeaker outside crackled to life. "All humans report to Distribution Center Alpha for morning rations. You have 15 minutes. Late arrivals will receive reduced portions." The voice belonged to Dae Choi, one of the human enforcers who worked for the aliens. He had been a police officer before the invasion. Now he wore a black uniform with alien symbols on it and carried an energy weapon. The aliens liked to use humans to control other humans. It made their job easier. Hana helped Minho stand up. His legs were shaky, but he tried to walk on his own. Other families were already leaving their assigned rooms and heading toward the distribution center. Everyone looked thin and tired. The adults kept their eyes down and moved quietly. The children stayed close to their parents. The distribution center was a large metal building in the middle of the settlement. Long tables were set up with small portions of gray protein blocks and vitamin water. Each family got exactly the same amount, no matter how many people they had or how sick anyone might be. The aliens had calculated the minimum food needed to keep humans working. Nothing more. Hana and Minho joined the line with the other families. The alien guards watched from elevated platforms. They were tall reptilian creatures with yellow eyes and scales that changed color depending on their mood. Right now, their scales showed a dull brown color, which meant they were bored. Hana had learned to read their moods over the past 3 years. It helped her know when to be extra careful. When their turn came, Hana received 2 protein blocks and 2 bottles of vitamin water. The protein blocks tasted like cardboard mixed with chemicals. The vitamin water was slightly better, but it was not enough for Minho's condition. She had asked the distribution officer many times for extra rations or different food. The answer was always the same. Rules could not be changed. They sat on a bench outside the distribution center to eat. Hana broke her protein block in half and gave the larger piece to Minho. She did this every day, even though it meant she was getting weaker too. Minho ate slowly, chewing each bite many times before swallowing. The food was hard and hurt his throat. "Mama, why does the food taste so bad?" Minho asked. "It has all the things your body needs to grow strong," Hana lied. She had read the nutrition information on the packages. The protein blocks contained the basic elements to keep humans alive, but nothing more. No extra vitamins. No minerals for growing children. No medicine for sick people. After breakfast, Hana walked Minho to the children's area. This was where kids too young to work spent their days. An older woman named Mrs. Song watched over them. She had been a teacher before the invasion and still tried to teach the children basic reading and math. The aliens allowed this because educated humans were better workers. "How is he today?" Mrs. Song asked quietly. "Not good," Hana whispered back. "The coughing is worse. He needs medicine." Mrs. Song nodded sadly. She had seen many children get sick and die over the past 3 years. The aliens did not waste medical supplies on humans unless they were valuable workers. Children and elderly people were considered replaceable. Hana kissed Minho goodbye and walked to her work assignment. She had been assigned to the electronics repair station. This was actually good luck because her engineering background made her useful to the aliens. Workers with special skills got slightly better treatment, but even skilled workers had families, and families needed more food than the rations provided. The repair station was in a large warehouse filled with broken alien devices. Hana's job was to fix communication equipment and scanning devices that had been damaged. The work was not difficult for someone with her training, but the aliens made sure humans never learned too much about their technology. Each worker only saw small parts of each device. No one person could understand how the complete systems worked. As she worked, Hana thought about her sister Suki. Before the invasion, they had lived together in a small apartment downtown. Suki worked as a nurse at the children's hospital. When the aliens attacked, they had been separated in the chaos. Hana had not seen her sister since that terrible day. She did not even know if Suki was still alive. The morning passed slowly. Hana's hands moved automatically, removing broken parts and installing new ones, but her mind was on Minho. She could still hear his coughing from that morning. Each cough seemed to take more strength out of his small body. How much longer could he survive on basic rations? During the lunch break, Hana walked back toward the children's area. As she passed the main food storage building, she noticed something unusual. One of the loading dock doors was slightly open. Usually the storage building was sealed tight with electronic locks and guard sensors. But today, maintenance workers were upgrading the security system. For a few minutes, there was a gap in their surveillance. Hana stopped walking. Through the open door, she could see shelves stacked with different types of food, not just protein blocks, but real food. Fruits and vegetables and enriched bread that contained the vitamins and minerals growing children needed. Food that could save her son's life. Her engineering mind quickly calculated the risks. The maintenance window would last maybe 10 more minutes. The guards were focused on supervising the security upgrade. If she was very quiet and very fast, she might be able to get inside, grab some food, and get out without being detected. But if she was caught, the punishment would be severe. The aliens enjoyed making examples of humans who broke their rules. They would not just punish her. They would probably reduce food rations for everyone in her section. Other families would suffer because of her actions. Hana looked toward the children's area. She could not see Minho from here, but she could imagine him sitting quietly with the other children, trying not to cough too much. His thin face and blue lips filled her thoughts. He was dying slowly, and she was the only person who could save him. The decision was already made before she realized it. Hana looked around once more, then slipped through the gap in the loading dock door. Inside the storage building, the smell of real food was overwhelming. Her stomach cramped with hunger as she saw fresh bread, dried fruits, and containers of vitamin supplements. All of this food existed in the same settlement where children were starving. The aliens kept it for themselves and their most valued human workers. Hana grabbed a loaf of enriched bread from the nearest shelf. According to the label, it contained iron, calcium, and vitamin D, exactly what Minho needed. She stuffed it inside her work jacket and turned toward the door. The red scanning light hit her before she took 3 steps. Security alarms began wailing throughout the settlement. Heavy footsteps echoed from multiple directions as guards rushed toward the storage building. Hana ran for the door, but it was too late. 3 human enforcers in black uniforms blocked her exit. Dae Choi stepped forward, his energy weapon pointed at her chest. His face showed no emotion as he looked at the bread visible under her jacket. "Hana Kim, you are under arrest for theft of settlement resources," he said in a loud voice. "By order of the Hegemony Alliance, you will face punishment according to human cultural traditions." As they dragged her away, Hana thought about Minho waiting for her in the children's area. She had failed to save him, and now she would not even be able to hold him as he got worse. The bread fell from her jacket onto the ground, where it was immediately picked up by another enforcer as evidence. The aliens watched from their towers as the humans prepared her punishment. To them, it was just another example of human primitiveness and lack of discipline. They had no idea that what they were witnessing was actually the most human thing of all, a mother's love for her child. The settlement square was the center of Settlement 7, where all important announcements were made and punishments were carried out. Hana had been dragged there by 4 human enforcers while crowds of people gathered around to watch. The aliens required all humans to witness punishments. They said it helped maintain order. Dae Choi stood on a wooden platform reading from an official document. His voice carried across the square through speakers mounted on tall metal poles. Hana Kim has been found guilty of stealing settlement resources. According to human historical punishment methods, she will be covered in tar and feathers and displayed for public shame. Hana knelt on the ground with her hands tied behind her back. Two large buckets sat nearby. One contained thick black tar that smelled like burning plastic. The other was filled with white chicken feathers. She had read about this punishment in history books when she was in school. It was something people did hundreds of years ago to humiliate criminals and traitors. The alien guards watched from their elevated platforms. Their scales had changed to a bright yellow color, which meant they were amused. To them, this was entertainment. They enjoyed watching humans use primitive methods to punish each other. It reminded them that humans were still savage creatures who needed alien guidance. "Please," Hana said, looking up at Dae-choi. "I have a son. He is sick and needs his mother." Dae-choi's expression did not change. "You should have thought about your son before you stole from the settlement. Rules exist for everyone's protection. When people break rules, everyone suffers." Mrs. Song pushed through the crowd, holding Minho's hand. The little boy looked confused and scared. His coughing had gotten worse during the morning, and his face was very pale. When he saw his mother kneeling on the platform, he tried to run to her. "Mama," Minho cried out, but Mrs. Song held him back. "Stay with me," Mrs. Song whispered. "Your mama will be okay." But Mrs. Song knew this was not true. The tar and feather punishment was designed to be humiliating, but it was also dangerous. The hot tar could burn skin and cause serious injuries. Many people died from infections after this kind of punishment. The aliens knew this, but they did not care about individual human lives. The first enforcer lifted the bucket of tar. The thick black liquid had been heated until it was almost boiling. Steam rose from the surface, carrying the sharp chemical smell across the square. People in the crowd looked away, but the aliens forced them to keep watching. "This is what happens to thieves," Dae-choi announced. "Let this be a lesson to everyone." The hot tar splashed across Hana's head and shoulders. She screamed as the burning liquid soaked through her clothes and touched her skin. The pain was worse than anything she had ever felt. It was like being burned and poisoned at the same time. The tar stuck to everything it touched, making it impossible to wipe away. The second enforcer threw handfuls of feathers onto the tar. The white feathers stuck to the black liquid, covering Hana from head to waist. She looked like some kind of strange creature, half human and half bird. People in the crowd started crying, but they could not help her. Anyone who interfered would face the same punishment. Minho broke free from Mrs. Song and ran toward the platform. "Leave my mama alone," he shouted. Two enforcers caught him before he could reach the platform. They held his small arms while he kicked and screamed. Seeing her son's terror made the physical pain seem less important to Hana. All she wanted was to hold him and tell him everything would be okay. "Chain her to the punishment post," Dae-choi ordered. "She will remain there for 24 hours as an example to others." The punishment post was a tall metal pole in the center of the square. Iron chains hung from rings near the top. The enforcers dragged Hana to the post and locked the chains around her wrists, forcing her to stand with her arms stretched above her head. The position was uncomfortable and would become painful after a few hours. As the crowd began to break up, Mrs. Song carried Minho away from the square. The little boy reached out toward his mother, still crying her name. Hana tried to call back to him, but her voice was weak from screaming. The tar was already starting to harden on her skin, making it difficult to move or speak. The alien guards settled into their observation positions. They would watch her throughout the day and night, making sure no one tried to help her. Some of the aliens took pictures with small devices. They would probably send the images to other settlements as a warning about what happened to humans who broke the rules. As the sun moved across the sky, Hana's situation became worse. The tar continued to harden, pulling at her skin like a tight mask. The feathers itched and made breathing difficult. Her arms ached from being stretched above her head. Worst of all, she could not stop thinking about Minho. Who would take care of him while she was chained here? What if his condition got worse and he needed help? The hours passed slowly. People walked through the square on their way to work assignments, but most of them avoided looking at her. A few brave individuals made eye contact and nodded slightly, showing their support. But no one could do anything to help without risking their own punishment. Night began to fall over Settlement 7. The alien ships above the settlement turned on their bright searchlights, creating an artificial daylight that never completely disappeared. Hana's legs were shaking from exhaustion, but the chains held her upright. Her throat was dry and she had not been given any water since the punishment began. In the darkness beyond the settlement walls, something moved. Most people would not have noticed it, but Hana's engineer training had taught her to observe details that others missed. There was a shadow near the outer fence that did not match the landscape. It moved too smoothly to be an animal, and it was too far from the settlement to be a human worker. The shadow paused near a section of fence where the searchlights created a blind spot. For a moment, Hana thought she saw the outline of a person crouching low to the ground, but then the shadow moved again and disappeared into the darkness. Hours later, when most of the settlement was asleep, the shadow returned. This time it was closer to the square, moving from building to building with careful steps. Hana realized she was watching someone who knew how to avoid the alien surveillance systems. This person understood the timing of the searchlights and the locations of the guard sensors. The figure stopped behind a concrete barrier about 50 meters from the punishment post. Even in the dim light, Hana could see that it was a man wearing clothes made from animal skins. His long black hair was tied back with leather strips, and his face was painted with white and red designs. He looked like pictures she had seen of Native American warriors from old history books. The man studied the square for several minutes, counting the alien guards and watching their movement patterns. He seemed to be planning something, but Hana could not imagine what. The settlement's security was too strong for any single person to challenge. The alien weapons could kill a human instantly, and their sensors could detect movement from hundreds of meters away. But this man did not seem afraid of the alien technology. He moved with confidence, like someone who had dealt with these dangers before. As he crept closer to the square, Hana could see more details. He carried weapons that looked handmade, a bow, a knife, and what appeared to be small explosive devices attached to his belt. The alien guards were focused on watching Hana and the immediate area around the punishment post. They did not expect any threat to come from outside the settlement. Their sensors were designed to detect large groups of people or vehicles, not a single person moving slowly on foot. The man reached the edge of the square and crouched behind a pile of construction materials. He was close enough now that Hana could see his face clearly. His features were Native American, with high cheekbones and dark eyes that seemed to glow in the artificial light. He looked to be about 45 years old, with scars on his arms that suggested he had survived many battles. Their eyes met across the square. The man placed one finger against his lips, telling her to stay quiet. Then he pointed toward the darkness beyond the settlement walls and made a gesture that seemed to mean, "Wait." Hana nodded slightly to show she understood. The man studied the alien guards one more time, then began to work his way back toward the outer fence. As he moved, Hana noticed that he left no traces of his presence. No footprints, no disturbed objects, no signs that anyone had been there. He was like a ghost who could walk through the settlement without being detected. Just before he disappeared into the darkness, the man turned back toward Hana. He touched his chest with his right hand and then pointed toward her, making what looked like a promise. Then he was gone, leaving only shadows and silence behind. For the first time since her arrest, Hana felt something other than despair. Someone had seen her punishment and cared enough to risk coming into the settlement. She did not know who he was or how he planned to help, but she knew he would return. The alien guards continued their patrol, unaware that their supposedly secure settlement had been infiltrated. Above them, the alien ships floated in the dark sky, their red scanning lights sweeping back and forth across the buildings below. But in the wilderness beyond the walls, free humans were planning something the aliens had never expected. The rescue of Hana Kim had become more than just saving one person. It had become a symbol of resistance against an enemy that thought humans were too weak and primitive to fight back. Hana woke up in complete darkness. Her body felt different, lighter somehow, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The last thing she remembered was hanging from the punishment post, watching alien searchlights sweep across the settlement square. Now she was lying on something soft, and the air smelled like herbs and wood smoke instead of tar and chemicals. She tried to move her arms and was surprised to find they were free. The chains were gone. Slowly, she lifted one hand to touch her face. The hardened tar and feathers had been removed. Her skin felt clean and smooth, with some kind of healing ointment applied to the burned areas. "You are awake," said a gentle voice in the darkness. "That is good. We were worried about you." A small flame appeared as someone lit a candle. In the flickering light, Hana could see she was inside a cave. The walls were natural rock, but the space had been made comfortable with woven mats, blankets, and wooden furniture. Shelves carved into the stone held jars of herbs, bottles of medicine, and books wrapped in animal skins. An elderly woman sat beside her bed. She had long gray hair braided with colored beads, and her face was marked with lines that came from years of smiling. She wore simple clothes made from soft leather and cotton, decorated with beautiful patterns in blue and red thread. "Who are you?" Hannah asked. Her voice was hoarse and weak. "My name is Grandmother Osprey," the woman replied. "I am a healer for the new Lakota nation. Chief Jay brought you and your son here 3 days ago." "Minho." Hannah tried to sit up quickly, but dizziness forced her back down. "Where is my son? Is he safe?" "He is fine," Grandmother Osprey said, placing a gentle hand on Hannah's shoulder. "He is with the other children, learning to make arrows with Grandfather Wolf. The boy has been very worried about you, but we told him you needed time to heal." 3 days? Hannah could not believe so much time had passed. "How did I get here?" "The last thing I remember was being chained to the post." Grandmother Osprey smiled. "Chief Jay and his warriors rescued you in the middle of the night. It was very dangerous, but they could not leave you to die. No mother should suffer for trying to feed her child." The old woman helped Hannah sit up slowly and gave her a cup of warm tea. The liquid tasted like mint and honey, with other herbs she could not identify. As she drank, Hannah felt strength returning to her body. "Where am I?" she asked. "You are in the Badlands, about 200 kilometers from Settlement 7, Grandmother Osprey explained. "This area has special rocks that interfere with alien technology. Their ships cannot fly here safely and their sensors do not work well. That is why we can live free while other humans remain prisoners." Hannah looked around the cave with new understanding. This was not just a hiding place, it was a permanent home. She could see that people had been living here for years. The furniture was well made, the storage areas were organized, and everything showed signs of careful maintenance. "How many people live here?" she asked. "In this cave system, about 300 people. But the new Lakota nation includes many camps across the Badlands. In total, we have nearly 2,000 free humans," Grandmother Osprey said proudly. "We are not just Native Americans. We welcome anyone who wants to live free and help others do the same." Over the next few hours, Grandmother Osprey explained how the new Lakota nation had formed after the alien invasion. When the aliens conquered Earth, most humans had surrendered or been captured quickly. But some Native American tribes had retreated to remote areas where they could continue fighting. Chief Jay Park had been a young warrior when the invasion began. His real name was James Park, the son of a Korean father and Lakota mother. He had grown up learning both cultures and spoke several languages. When the aliens arrived, he helped organize the resistance that eventually became the new Lakota nation. "The aliens think they understand humans," Grandmother Osprey said. "They see us as primitive and weak. But they do not understand that our strength comes from working together and never abandoning each other. That is something their technology cannot defeat." As Hannah recovered over the following days, she began to explore the cave system and meet other members of the community. The caves were much larger than she had first realized. Tunnels connected dozens of chambers that served as homes, workshops, storage areas, and meeting spaces. An underground stream provided fresh water, and hidden entrances allowed people to come and go without being detected. She met families from many different backgrounds. There were former soldiers, doctors, teachers, farmers, and engineers. Some had escaped from settlements like hers. Others had been hiding in remote areas since the invasion began. All of them had chosen to risk everything for the chance to live free. Minho was thriving in this environment. His coughing had almost stopped, thanks to proper food and medicine that the tribe had acquired through raids on alien facilities. He spent his days playing with other children, learning traditional skills and listening to stories told by the elders. For the first time in years, he looked like a healthy, happy child. "Mama, look what I made." Minho ran up to her, holding a small wooden toy carved in the shape of a bird. "Grandfather Wolf taught me how to use the knife safely." Hannah hugged her son tightly. The transformation in him was amazing. Not only was his health improving, but his spirit had returned. In Settlement 7, children learned to be quiet and fearful. Here they were encouraged to be curious and creative. One evening, Chief Jay visited Hannah in the healing cave. She had seen him from a distance during her recovery, but this was their first real conversation since the rescue. He was tall and strong, with long black hair and intelligent dark eyes. His face showed the confidence of someone who had led people through difficult times. "How are you feeling?" he asked, sitting on a wooden chair near her bed. "Much better, thanks to Grandmother Osprey and your people," Hannah replied. "I cannot thank you enough for saving us." "Why did you risk so much for strangers?" Jay was quiet for a moment before answering. "I lost my own family during the invasion. My wife and daughter were killed in the first attacks on the cities. For a long time I wanted revenge against the aliens. But revenge alone cannot build a future." He looked toward the main tunnel, where the sounds of children playing echoed through the caves. "When I saw you chained in that square, I realized something important. The aliens want us to become like them, thinking only of ourselves. But our humanity comes from caring about each other, even when it is dangerous or difficult." "I was an engineer before the invasion," Hannah said. "I know about machines and computers. Maybe I can help your people in some way." Jay's eyes became more interested. "What kind of engineering?" "Quantum mechanics, electromagnetic systems, computer programming," Hannah explained. "I worked on satellite communication networks." "That could be very useful," Jay said thoughtfully. "We have been trying to understand alien technology, but we need someone with your knowledge. Most of our raids are successful because we use surprise and traditional fighting methods. But if we could turn their own technology against them..." Over the following days, Jay showed Hannah the tribe's collection of alien equipment. They had weapons, communication devices, sensors, and computer systems taken from various raids. Some items were broken, others were intact but locked with security codes that no one could break. Hannah studied the devices with growing excitement. Her engineering background allowed her to recognize patterns and connections that others had missed. The alien technology was advanced, but it followed logical principles that she could understand. "These power sources all use the same type of energy field," she explained to Jay and the other tribal leaders. "If I can figure out the frequency, we might be able to disrupt their systems from a distance." "What would that mean for our people?" asked Running Bear, one of the war chiefs. "It could mean the difference between small raids and real victories," Hannah replied. "Instead of just stealing supplies, we could disable their defenses and free more prisoners." As weeks passed, Hannah became fully integrated into the new Lakota community. She worked during the day on understanding alien technology and spent evenings with Minho, teaching him engineering concepts while he taught her traditional crafts he had learned from the other children. The work was challenging but exciting. Each breakthrough brought new possibilities for fighting back against the alien occupation. But Hannah also found herself thinking more and more about the people still trapped in settlements across the continent. One evening, while testing a captured alien communication device, she picked up a signal that made her heart race. It was a medical facility identification code that she recognized, the same type of code that her sister Suki had carried when she worked as a nurse before the invasion. "Jay," she called out, her voice trembling with emotion. "I think my sister might still be alive." The message that followed changed everything they thought they knew about alien intentions. It was not just a medical facility. It was a research center where aliens were conducting experiments on human prisoners, and according to the data in the signal, her sister was not just alive, she was being used as a test subject for something called Project Human Bond. The new Lakota nation faced a choice. They could continue their small-scale resistance, staying safe in the Badlands and gradually building their strength. Or they could risk everything on a dangerous mission to rescue prisoners from a heavily defended alien facility. Hannah looked at Minho, who was sleeping peacefully in their cave home. He was safe here, healthy and happy for the first time since the invasion. Taking on the aliens directly could mean losing everything they had built, but it could also mean saving her sister and hundreds of other human prisoners. It could mean proving that humans would never stop fighting for each other, no matter how dangerous the odds became. The decision would define not just their future, but what it truly meant to be human in a world controlled by aliens. The tribal council met in the largest cave chamber, where voices could echo off the stone walls without being heard outside. 12 leaders sat in a circle around a small fire, their faces serious in the flickering light. Hannah stood in the center, holding the alien communication device that had changed everything. "Show them what you found," Chief Jay said quietly. Hannah activated the device, and holographic images appeared in the air above it. The pictures showed the inside of a large alien facility with white walls and bright lights. Human prisoners in gray uniforms moved through corridors under heavy guard. Medical equipment filled rooms where experiments were being conducted. This is Complex Prime, Hannah explained. It is the main research facility where aliens study human prisoners. According to the communication signals, they are not just keeping people there. They are doing experiments to understand how human families work together. The council members leaned forward to see the images more clearly. Some of the faces in the pictures looked familiar. These were people who had disappeared from settlements across the continent, people their families thought were dead. "How many prisoners are there?" asked Running Bear, the war chief. "The data shows at least 400 humans inside the facility," Hannah replied. "But the numbers change regularly. Some prisoners are moved to other locations and some—" She paused, not wanting to finish the sentence. "Some die from the experiments," completed Grandmother Osprey sadly. Hannah nodded. "The aliens are trying to understand why humans risk their lives to save each other. They cannot understand this behavior because their own species thinks differently. To them, individual survival is more important than group survival." She manipulated the device to show different sections of the facility. There were laboratories where humans were separated from their families to see how they reacted. There were training areas where prisoners were forced to compete against each other for food and shelter. There were medical rooms where aliens studied human brain activity during emotional stress. "They call it Project Human Bond," Hannah continued. "The aliens think that if they can break the connections between humans, we will become easier to control. But so far their experiments have failed. Even under terrible conditions, humans continue to help each other." Chief Jay studied the images carefully. "Where is this facility located?" "About 800 kilometers north of here in what used to be Montana," Hannah said. "It is built into a mountain, with most of the structure underground. The defenses are very strong. Energy shields, automated weapons, guard towers, and at least 200 alien soldiers." The council members looked at each other with worried expressions. Complex Prime was much larger and better defended than any target they had attacked before. Their usual tactics of small raids and surprise attacks would not work against such a fortified position. "This is impossible," said Grey Wolf, one of the older warriors. "We have 300 fighters at most. They have advanced weapons and technology we cannot match. It would be suicide to attack such a place." "But there are 400 human prisoners inside," argued Swift Arrow, a younger council member. "If we do nothing, they will all die slowly from the experiments." The debate continued for hours. Some council members believed they should focus on protecting their own people and gradually building their strength. Others felt they had a duty to rescue any humans they could find, regardless of the risks. Hannah listened to the arguments, but her mind was focused on one particular image from the facility data. In a medical ward, she had seen a woman with long black hair wearing a nurse's uniform. The image quality was not perfect, but something about the woman's posture and movements reminded her strongly of her sister Suki. "There is something else," Hannah said when the debate slowed down. "I think my sister is inside that facility." The council chamber became quiet. Everyone knew that Hannah had been separated from her sister during the invasion and had never found out what happened to her. "Are you certain?" asked Chief Jay. "I cannot be completely sure from the images," Hannah admitted. "But the woman I saw matches my sister's height and appearance. She was working in the medical section, which makes sense because Suki was a nurse before the invasion." "That changes nothing," Grey Wolf said firmly. "We cannot risk the lives of our entire community to save one person, even if she is your sister." "It is not about one person," Hannah replied, her voice becoming stronger. "It is about what makes us human. The aliens study us because they cannot understand why we help each other. If we abandon those prisoners because saving them is dangerous, then we prove the aliens are right about us." She walked to the edge of the circle, looking each council member in the eyes. "My son is safe here. He is healthy and happy for the first time since the invasion. I could stay here and live peacefully while other people suffer in that facility. But that is not who I want to be. That is not who we should be." Young Swift Arrow stood up to support her. "Hannah is right. Our ancestors fought against impossible odds to protect their families and communities. They did not calculate the risks and decide it was too dangerous. They fought because it was the right thing to do. Our ancestors also knew when to retreat and preserve their strength for better opportunities," Grey Wolf countered. "Charging into a fortified position with superior forces is not bravery, it is foolishness." Chief Jay had remained silent during most of the debate, but now he spoke up. "Hannah,
You have studied their technology more than anyone else.
In your opinion, is there any way to attack Complex Prime successfully? Hana thought carefully before answering. The facility's main weakness is that it depends entirely on alien technology. Their shields, weapons, and communication systems all use the same type of energy source. If we could disrupt that energy source, their defenses would fail. How would we do that? Asked Running Bear. I have been studying the electromagnetic properties of the rocks in our area, Hana explained. The same interference that protects us from alien sensors could be weaponized. If we could create a large enough electromagnetic pulse, it would shut down their systems temporarily. How large would this pulse need to be? Chief Jay asked. Very large, Hana admitted. It would require us to transport several tons of special rock formations to a position near the facility. The logistics would be extremely difficult, and we would have only a small window of time before their systems came back online. The council spent the rest of the night discussing the technical details of such an attack. Hana drew diagrams on flat stones, showing how the electromagnetic pulse would work and what equipment they would need. The plan was complex and dangerous, but it was theoretically possible. As dawn approached, Chief Jay called for a final vote. All those in favor of attempting to rescue the prisoners at Complex Prime, raise your hands. 6 hands went up, including Jay's own. 6 others remained down. The council was split exactly in half. As chief, I have the deciding vote, Jay said solemnly. This decision will affect not just our warriors, but our entire community. If the mission fails, the aliens will certainly hunt us down and destroy everything we have built here. He looked at Hana, who was holding the alien communication device. But if we succeed, we will prove that humans cannot be broken by fear or superior technology. We will show the aliens that our bonds with each other make us stronger, not weaker. I vote yes, Chief Jay declared. We will attempt the rescue mission. The council chamber erupted in both cheers and worried voices. Those who supported the mission were excited by the possibility of striking a major blow against the aliens. Those who opposed it feared they were making a terrible mistake that would get everyone killed. Over the following days, the entire community began preparing for the mission. Warriors checked their weapons and practiced new fighting techniques. Engineers worked with Hana to build the electromagnetic pulse device. Families said goodbye to their loved ones, knowing some of them might not return. But not everyone supported the decision. Grey Wolf and several other council members continued to argue that the mission was too dangerous. They began meeting secretly with other community members, trying to convince them that Chief Jay was making the wrong choice. We have built something good here, Grey Wolf told a small group of families. Why should we throw it away for people we do not even know? Our first responsibility is to our own children and elders. The community began to divide into 2 groups. Those who believed in the rescue mission worked harder than ever to make it succeed. Those who opposed it started making plans to leave the caves and establish a new community somewhere else, away from what they saw as Jay's dangerous leadership. Hana found herself at the center of the conflict. Some people blamed her for bringing the information about Complex Prime to the council. Others praised her for giving them a chance to save hundreds of lives. Late one night, as she worked on the electromagnetic pulse device, Minho came to her workshop. "Mama, are you going to leave me?" he asked. The question broke her heart. Why would you think that? Some of the other kids said their parents are talking about you going away to fight the aliens. They said you might not come back. Hana knelt down and hugged her son tightly. I do not want to leave you, Minho. But there are people trapped by the aliens who need help. One of them might be your Aunt Suki. I remember Aunt Suki, Minho said quietly. She used to read me stories and make me laugh when I was sick. That is right. And now she might be the one who is sick and needs help. Minho thought about this for a moment. If Aunt Suki was here and you were trapped, would she try to save you? Yes, Hana said without hesitation. She would do anything to help us. Then we have to help her too, Minho decided. That is what families do. As Hana tucked her son into bed that night, she realized he had understood something that some of the adults were struggling with. Being human meant more than just surviving. It meant being willing to risk everything for the people you cared about, even when the odds seemed impossible. The mission to Complex Prime would test that belief in the most dangerous way possible. The night before the mission, Hana could not sleep. She sat outside the cave entrance, looking up at the stars that were barely visible through the alien ships patrolling overhead. In 12 hours, she would either be celebrating the rescue of hundreds of prisoners or she would be dead. The electromagnetic pulse device sat beside her, packed into a metal case the size of a large backpack. It had taken 3 weeks to build, using alien components mixed with special rock formations from the Badlands. The device looked simple on the outside, but inside was the most complex piece of technology anyone in the new Lakota nation had ever created. Cannot sleep either? Chief Jay sat down next to her on the rocky ledge. I keep thinking about all the things that could go wrong, Hana admitted. The pulse device might not work. The alien defenses might be stronger than we expect. We might not find the prisoners in time. Or we might succeed and save 400 lives, Jay replied. You cannot control everything, Hana. Sometimes you have to have faith in your people and your plan. Over the past 3 weeks, the rescue mission had grown from a desperate idea into a detailed military operation. The team would consist of 20 fighters, including Hana as the technology specialist and Jay as the overall commander. They would travel on foot through the wilderness, avoiding alien patrols and settlements. The plan had 3 phases. First, they would reach the mountains surrounding Complex Prime and find a position within range of the facility. Second, Hana would activate the electromagnetic pulse device, shutting down the alien defenses for approximately 15 minutes. Third, the team would infiltrate the facility, locate the prisoners, and guide them to safety before the systems came back online. Each phase had multiple backup plans and contingency options. The team had practiced every aspect of the mission dozens of times. But everyone knew that no plan survived contact with the enemy unchanged. The others are ready, Jay said, nodding toward the cave system behind them. Running Bear has the weapons team prepared. Swift Arrow has the explosives. Grey Wolf even volunteered to lead the rear guard, despite his objections to the mission. Grey Wolf changed his mind? Hana was surprised. The older warrior had been the strongest opponent of the rescue operation. He said that even if he thinks the mission is foolish, he will not let his people go into danger without the best protection possible, Jay explained. That is what leadership means sometimes, supporting decisions you disagree with because your community has chosen them. As the sun rose over the Badlands, the mission team made their final preparations. Each person carried enough food and water for 5 days, along with weapons, medical supplies, and communication equipment. The electromagnetic pulse device was divided into 3 parts, with different team members carrying each section to ensure that mechanical failure or injury would not compromise the entire mission. Minho helped his mother pack her equipment, carefully placing each tool in the correct pocket of her backpack. He had been very quiet since learning about the mission, but now he seemed determined to be brave. Mama, will you bring Aunt Suki back with you? He asked. I will try my best, Hana promised. But even if I cannot find her, we will save other people who have families missing them too. I understand, Minho said seriously. Grandmother Osprey explained that sometimes we have to help strangers because someone else is helping the people we love. Hana hugged her son tightly, trying to memorize the feeling of his small arms around her neck. If something went wrong during the mission, this might be the last time she ever held him. The team left the caves just after sunrise, moving in single file through narrow canyons that hid them from aerial surveillance. Chief Jay led the way, followed by the warriors, then Hana, and finally Grey Wolf's rear guard unit. They traveled in complete silence, using hand signals to communicate. The journey to Complex Prime took 2 days of hard hiking through difficult terrain. They avoided all roads and settlements, staying in areas where the rocky landscape interfered with alien sensors. At night, they slept in small groups under camouflaged shelters, with guards watching for patrols. On the second evening, they reached a ridge overlooking Complex Prime. The facility was even more impressive and intimidating than the images had suggested. It was built into the side of a mountain, with massive walls of alien metal rising hundreds of meters above the valley floor. Guard towers dotted the perimeter, connected by energy shields that glowed faintly blue in the darkness. How many guards do you count? Jay asked Running Bear, who was studying the facility through binoculars. At least 50 visible positions, Running Bear replied. But there are probably 3 times that many inside the facility, and those are just the alien soldiers. There might be human collaborators as well. Hana assembled the electromagnetic pulse device while the others studied the defenses. The 3 sections fit together perfectly, creating a device that looked like a cross between a radio antenna and a lightning rod. She ran diagnostic tests to make sure all the components were working properly. "The device is ready," she reported. "But I need to be within 2 kilometers of the facility for it to work effectively. That means we have to get much closer to their defenses. There is a secondary ridge about 1,500 meters from the main gate." Swift arrow pointed to a position on their tactical map. "We could reach it by following this ravine, but we would be exposed to their sensors for the last 300 meters. "What about the timing?" Grey Wolf asked. "Once the pulse activates, how long do we have?" 15 minutes at most, Hana replied. "Their backup power systems will restore partial functionality first, then full defenses within 20 minutes. We need to be inside the facility and moving toward the prisoner areas within 5 minutes of activation." The team spent the rest of the night finalizing their approach routes and emergency escape plans. Each person memorized the facility layout and their specific responsibilities. They synchronized their watches and tested their communication equipment one final time. Just before dawn, Chief J gathered everyone for a final briefing. "In a few hours, we will either accomplish something no one thought was possible, or we will die trying. Either way, we will prove that humans do not abandon each other, no matter how dangerous the situation becomes." He looked at each team member individually. "The aliens think they understand us. They believe that fear will eventually break our connections to each other. Today we show them they are wrong. We fight not just for the prisoners in that facility, but for every human who refuses to give up hope." The team moved out in the pre-dawn darkness, following the ravine toward the secondary ridge. Hana carried the electromagnetic pulse device on her back, feeling its weight with every step. Behind her, 19 warriors moved silently through the rocks, ready to risk everything for people they had never met. As they approached the final position, alien searchlights began their morning sweep of the area. The team froze against the rock walls, waiting for the lights to pass overhead. Hana could hear her own heartbeat echoing in her ears as the bright beams moved slowly across the landscape above them. When the lights moved on, they continued toward the ridge. 1,500 meters from Complex Prime, they could see the facility clearly. Alien guards patrolled the walls and energy shields hummed with power. Transport ships landed and took off from a platform on the facility's roof. Somewhere inside that fortress, her sister and hundreds of other prisoners were waiting for rescue. The electromagnetic pulse device felt heavier on Hana's shoulders, but also more important. In a few minutes, she would either save those people or fail them completely. Chief J gave the signal. The impossible mission was about to begin. Hana activated the electromagnetic pulse device and Complex Prime went dark. The energy shields flickered and died. The guard towers lost power. Emergency alarms began wailing as backup systems struggled to come online. For the first time since its construction, the impregnable alien fortress was vulnerable. "Go, go, go!" Chief J shouted, and 20 humans charged toward the facility that held their people prisoner. The battle for Complex Prime had begun. Somewhere inside that fortress, her sister and hundreds of other prisoners were waiting for rescue. The electromagnetic pulse device felt heavier on Hana's shoulders, but also more important. In a few minutes, she would either save those people or fail them completely. Chief J gave the signal. The impossible mission was about to begin. Hana activated the electromagnetic pulse device and Complex Prime went dark. The energy shields flickered and died. The guard towers lost power. Emergency alarms began wailing as backup systems struggled to come online. For the first time since its construction, the impregnable alien fortress was vulnerable. "Go, go, go!" Chief J shouted, and 20 humans charged toward the facility that held their people prisoner. The battle for Complex Prime had begun. Hana and the rescue team moved quickly through the darkened hallways, following the facility maps they had memorized. The electromagnetic pulse had worked better than expected, shutting down not just the external defenses but most of the internal security systems as well. Doors that should have been locked stood open. Surveillance cameras hung dead on their mounts. "Prisoner section is this way," Chief J whispered, pointing toward a corridor marked with alien symbols. The team split into 3 groups as planned. Jay and Hana would locate the main prisoner areas. Running Bear would secure the exit routes. Swift Arrow would plant explosives to create diversions if needed. The first prisoner area they found contained about 60 humans in small cells. Most of them were weak and sick from the medical experiments, but they were conscious and able to move. When the cell doors opened, the prisoners looked suspicious at first. They had been trapped so long that rescue seemed impossible. "We are here to get you out," Hana told them, "but we have to move quickly. The power will come back soon." An older man who seemed to be a leader among the prisoners stepped forward. "How do we know you are not part of another experiment?" "Because we are risking our lives to save people we have never met," Chief J replied. "That is what humans do." The prisoners began to believe. They helped the weaker ones stand and prepared to follow their rescuers toward freedom. But as they moved through the facility, Hana realized they had not found the medical section where her sister might be held. "I have to check the research areas," she told Jay. "Suki might be there." "We do not have time," Jay replied. "The backup power is already starting to restore some systems. We need to get these people out now." But Hana was already running toward the medical section, leaving the main group behind. She had come too far to abandon her sister now, even if it meant risking everything they had accomplished. The medical section was deeper inside the facility, past laboratories filled with strange equipment and alien computers. As she ran through the corridors, Hana could hear the hum of power returning to various systems. They had maybe 5 more minutes before the facility would be fully operational again. She found the medical ward behind a heavy door marked with red alien symbols. Inside, human prisoners in white hospital gowns moved between beds, tending to other patients. These were not just prisoners, Hana realized. They were medical staff who had been forced to work for the aliens. "Suki!" Hana called out, searching the faces of the medical workers. A woman at the far end of the ward looked up. Even after 3 years, even though she was thinner and her hair was shorter, Hana recognized her sister immediately. Suki dropped the medical supplies she was carrying and ran toward her. "Hana, how are you here?" "This is impossible," Suki cried as the sisters embraced. "I came to get you out," Hana said quickly. "But we have to go right now. The whole facility is going to be back online soon." "I cannot leave," Suki replied. "There are 30 patients here who cannot walk. Some of them will die without constant medical care. Then we take them all," Hana decided. Working together, the sisters began organizing the mobile patients to help carry those who were too weak to walk. The medical staff grabbed essential supplies and medicine. It was not the quick escape Hana had planned, but it was the right thing to do. As they moved toward the exit, the lights in the corridor suddenly became brighter. The backup power systems were restoring functionality faster than expected. In the distance, they could hear the sound of alien weapons firing. The main rescue team was under attack. Commander Thale, the insectoid military leader of Complex Prime, had reached the central control room and was coordinating the counterattack. His large compound eyes reflected the red emergency lights as he studied tactical displays, showing the location of the escaping prisoners. "How did these primitive humans penetrate our defenses?" he demanded of his subordinates. "Unknown, Commander," replied one of the technicians. "Some kind of electromagnetic interference disabled our systems temporarily. We are analyzing the weapon now." "Irrelevant," Commander Thale clicked his mandibles angrily. "Seal all exits. Deploy all available forces. These humans must not escape with our research data." But the commander did not understand what he was really fighting against. This was not just a military operation. It was a demonstration of something the aliens had been studying but never comprehended. Humans would risk everything to save each other, even strangers, even when success seemed impossible. In the main corridor, Chief J and his warriors were fighting a running battle against alien soldiers. The humans used captured alien weapons along with their traditional tactics, moving quickly and unpredictably through the facility. Every time the aliens thought they had surrounded them, the humans found new routes and escape paths. "Where is Hana?" Running Bear shouted over the sound of energy weapons. "She went to find her sister," Jay replied, firing at an alien guard. "We hold this position until she returns." "The exits are getting blocked," Swift Arrow reported. "More alien soldiers are arriving from outside." Jay realized they were in trouble. The original plan had been to get in and out quickly, before the aliens could organize a response. Now they were trapped inside the facility with hundreds of prisoners who could barely walk, fighting against superior numbers and weapons. That was when Hana arrived with her sister and the medical staff, carrying and supporting the weakest patients. Behind them came a larger group of prisoners from the research sections that Suki had helped to free. "This way," Suki called out. "I know a maintenance route that leads to the loading docks." For 3 years, Suki had been forced to work in the facility. She had memorized every corridor and service tunnel, waiting for a chance to escape. Now she could use that knowledge to save everyone. The combined group moved through narrow maintenance tunnels that the alien soldiers could not easily follow. The passages were built for human-sized workers, making them too small for the larger alien species. What had been designed to make humans feel trapped now became their advantage. They reached the loading docks just as alien transport ships were landing to bring reinforcements. But Swift Arrow's explosives training proved valuable. He had planted charges throughout the facility during the infiltration. Now he detonated them in sequence, creating chaos and blocking the alien response. As the explosions rocked the facility, the rescued prisoners ran toward the exit. Many of them had not seen sunlight in years. Some fell to their knees crying when they reached the open air. Others just stood looking at the sky, unable to believe they were finally free. But Commander Thale was not finished. His personal transport ship rose above the facility, armed with heavy weapons. He could not allow these humans to escape and spread word that Complex Prime could be defeated. "You study us like laboratory animals," Chief J called out to the alien commander, "but you will never understand what makes us human." "Your sentiment makes you weak," Commander Thale replied through his ship's communication system. "Rational beings prioritize individual survival over group cohesion. That is why you will lose," Hana said, stepping forward with the electromagnetic pulse device. She had rebuilt it to work one more time, using power cells from the facility itself. "We do not fight for ourselves. We fight for each other." The second electromagnetic pulse disabled Commander Thale's ship, sending it crashing into the mountainside. The alien commander survived, but his certainty about human weakness did not. The journey back to the Badlands took a week, with the rescued prisoners moving slowly but steadily toward freedom. Many of them were too sick to travel quickly, but no one was left behind. The stronger prisoners helped the weaker ones, just as the new Lakota nation had always done. When they finally reached the hidden caves, the entire community came out to welcome the newcomers. Minho ran to his mother and aunt, hugging them both tightly. He had been worried every day since they left, but he had never stopped believing they would come home. Over the following months, the rescued prisoners integrated into the new Lakota nation. Doctors and nurses like Suki improved the medical care for everyone. Engineers and technicians worked with Hana to develop better defenses and weapons. Teachers began classes for the children who had been born in captivity and never received proper education. The community grew from 300 people to nearly 800. More importantly, word of the successful rescue spread to other human settlements and resistance groups. The impossible had become possible. Humans could defeat alien technology through cooperation and determination. 6 months after the rescue, alien intelligence reports noted a disturbing trend. Human resistance activities were increasing across all conquered territories. Facilities that had been considered secure were being attacked by coordinated groups using unknown electromagnetic weapons. Prisoner escapes were becoming more common and more successful. The reports concluded with a recommendation that puzzled the alien high command. Human behavioral patterns remain unpredictable and illogical. Subjects continue to prioritize group welfare over individual survival, even when such behavior reduces their chances of personal success. This appears to be an inherent species characteristic that cannot be modified through standard conditioning methods. What the aliens still did not understand was that this illogical behavior was not a weakness to be exploited. It was humanity's greatest strength, and it could never be defeated by superior technology or greater numbers. In the caves of the Badlands, Hana worked on her latest project while Minho and the other children played nearby. She was building communication devices that would connect all the human resistance groups across the continent. Soon, every free human would be able to coordinate with every other free human. Chief J found her there one evening, watching the sunset through the cave entrance. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "I am thinking that we proved something important," Hana replied. "The aliens came to our world because they thought humans were weak and primitive. But they were wrong about what makes us strong." She looked at her son playing with children who had been rescued from alien captivity, now healthy and happy and free. "We are strong because we never give up on each other. No matter how impossible the situation becomes, we keep fighting for the people we love." Outside the cave, the stars were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Among them, alien ships still patrolled the night. But inside the hidden community, human children were learning that no prison was permanent, no enemy was undefeatable, and no person was ever truly alone as long as other humans remembered what it meant to be human. The war was far from over, but the victory at Complex Prime had proven that it could be won.